Gargantuan explosion. Oh my God, I don't believe it. The northeast corner has exploded in the most incredible explosion. Flames are flying out of the building. They're 5-10 stories high now. Black billowing smoke. The building corner, the whole entire corner is gone.
Both World Trade Center buildings in New York City right now, heaps of rubble. At 9 o'clock this morning, a plane crashed into...
Greetings, X-Zone Nation, and to the worldwide listening audience of the X-Zone Nation. My name is George Krusher, a former member and officer of the Fire Department, New York, FDNY, USA. I am the author of a book, Fireman, that depicts the wonderful, beautiful men murdered on September 11th, 2001 by Osama bin Laden. Email www.george@fireman-book.com. Website www.fireman-book.com. The death of Osama bin Laden is a glorious single event in the war of Islamic terrorism that unfortunately will be with us for years to come. However, our Western history is such that we have leaned with our creativity and might to crush some terrible and powerful enemies. We will do this again and win. To quote Winston Churchill, now this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. I am very proud of the U.S. Navy SEALs and other operatives who have performed this excellent, precise, and successful mission to get bin Laden. It is almost poetic that the U.S. SEALs then took Osama bin Laden back to the sea. He is dead. Rest in peace, my fallen brothers, and all those innocents he murdered. God bless America and Canada. And you are listening to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell on the Talkstar Radio Network and their worldwide family of broadcast affiliates.
Yeah, and I watched this. It looked like a commuter plane, 2-engine, come down from the south, real low, proceed right on and crashed right into the Pentagon.
Then shortly after 10 o'clock this morning, one World Trade Center tower in New York collapsed.
Lots of smoke, and then the next thing I heard an explosion and the building.
The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Nicole B. Simpson. And Nicole is a compelling motivational speaker and certified financial planner who is actively involved in spiritual, emotional, and economic empowerment in the penal system, not-for-profit organizations, and the educational system. A radio and television personality and author, Ms. Simpson travels throughout the United States empowering men and women who have suffered catastrophic and traumatic events to dare to dream, and she teaches basic financial principles with biblical references. In 2002, She is the visionary and CEO of the Power of Gospel Ministries and Harvest Wealth Financial LLC. Elder Nicole has written 3 books: Planning for a Reason, A Season, and a Lifetime; The Ultimate Plan, a Financial Survival Guide for Life's Unexpected Events, which was nationally distributed through Tate Publishing, and her latest release, Dare to Dream. She is also a contributing writer for Airplay 360. In 2010, she is embarked on a national campaign, Dare to Dream, with encouraging everyone to begin pursuing their heart's desires. Her website is www.NicoleBSimpson.com. And Nicole will be my guest this hour here on the X Zone, and she joins me on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, here in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Once again, Nicole B. Simpson is my guest. Her website, www.NicoleBSimpson.com. And X Zone Nation, we want to hear from you. Give us a call at 1-800-610-7035 and record your thoughts by pressing extension number 5 about the death of Osama bin Laden. That's 1-800-610-7035, extension number 5. Record your thoughts, and we'll play them on air. Take care of yourself. I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute break. And welcome back, everyone. Nicole B. Simpson is our special guest. Her website is www.NicoleBSimpson.com. And Nicole, welcome to the X Zone. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you, Rob. I'm quite pleased to be on today, so thank you for the invitation.
Nicole, you believe that the World Trade Center survivors have been forgotten in all the dialogue related to the tragedy of 9/11. Why is this, especially with all the attention that is now being generated once again after all these years with the death of Osama bin Laden?
Well, because I believe, Rob, that there is a significant distinction between those that died in the World Trade Center. So you have the survivors' families, those family surviving members of those that died, their family members. They've been taken into consideration, justifiably so. And then you have the first responders, the brave men and women, the firefighters and the police officers that went in and began to help, the volunteers that sacrificed their lives, immediately in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. And they are justifiably deserving of any acknowledgement that they have put their lives on the line for us. But then you have individuals that went to work every day. It was part of their vocation or part of their lives. And those are the survivors that I'm talking about. Those walked away with their life. They may have been emotionally scarred. They may have been physically scarred, but then their lives were left in the abyss. And so when you have the conversation, particularly from a media perspective, there's significant emphasis that are laid on the first responders and people that died on 9/11. But there were many of us that were in that building that walked away with our lives, but our lives have been forever altered. That's the voice that I'm representing. That's the voice that I believe has been silent for a long time, that we've suffered in silence. We've gone through the emotional trauma of such a catastrophic event. While it has been, a national conversation or national dialogue, we struggle with those issues daily, attempting to pick up the pieces of our lives. And just when we think we might be healed, here comes September 11th again, for us to do it all over again and still not receive the recognition, that something traumatic has happened to us as well. And it oftentimes is not problematic for individuals, but when it slides over to political rhetoric, when it slides over to conspiracy theories, we were there, and certain things are just not as important to us because we desire to heal, we desire to move forward in our lives, we desire to get our lives back together again. I interviewed a lot of survivors that are in the same position as I am, and many have lost their homes to foreclosure, can't work in a job, suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffer from significant depression. Our income is literally slashed in half. What about us?
Where exactly were you on the morning of September 11th, 2001?
I worked on the 73rd floor of Tower 2. And I was actually in the building in my office speaking to my assistants. I'm a certified financial planner by vocation, worked for one of the major firms that was there. At the time, it was Morgan Stanley is where I was employed at. As a financial advisor, I was speaking to my assistants and just really going over the daily routine when Tower 1 was hit. And when Tower 1 had been hit, we had gotten notification that a plane had hit the building, but of course we all thought that it was a small plane, that it was merely an accident, perhaps a CNN plane or MSNBC plane had hit the building. We hadn't really known what was going on. We felt the impact of the hit. The lights flickered off and on, and things began to shake. But if you weren't looking at the plane directly in Tower 1, and from my proximity I couldn't see it, we really didn't know the significance of what had transpired. When Tower 2 was hit, when Tower 1 was hit, I began to evacuate. And Morgan Stanley at the time had an evacuation plan, but I began to walk down the stairs. But as I was walking down the stairs, they kept making an announcement that Tower 2 was secure, that we didn't have to evacuate the building. And so I found comfort in that. And so I went to the 44th floor, which allows you to either go all the way upstairs or go back or go downstairs. I actually got on the elevator route to go upstairs, and I just had a divine intervention, if you will, that told me to get off the elevator. And so I stepped back off of the elevator, and not even 30 seconds later, Tower 2, the building that I was in, was hit. Now, for those that know anything about other people's story, when the elevators came crashing down, the fire and the impact began to hurt and injure individuals along the side of me. Fire came shooting out of the elevators. It burnt some people that was right alongside of me, but the elevator door that I was standing in front of, it didn't open. So imagine, at that precise moment, I knew that we were under attack.
How do you think the death of Osama bin Laden is going to affect the survivors and Americans across the country? Is this part of the healing process? I
certainly believe that it is. I mean, I've been asked the question, how do you feel? And I can honestly say at this moment right now, I have been numbed. You have to understand, it's been 10 years. And we have been fighting this war against terrorism. But when you look at it in reality, Osama bin Laden represented the face of terrorism, the face of who did this to me. And so with his death begins the process of healing, because now there's closure. There is no inevitable individual out there scheming and plotting our demise once again. And so I think for the survivors, there's this welcome relief that perhaps the conversation can now, we will never forget, but perhaps it can die down just a little bit, enough that we can begin to manage our lives more from day to day.
What do you think about the people who like to spin a conspiracy theory that it had nothing to do with a terrorist attack, that it was a black flag operation perpetrated by the United States government?
Well, I certainly believe, as charitable and as nurturing as the United States is when other individuals are in despair, I certainly do not think that they would turn that conspiracy on ourselves. Do I think America has clean hands in life? No, we wouldn't be a superpower if we didn't. So But I can't imagine in my wildest dreams that we would bring such pain, such financial devastation on ourselves by hitting the Mecca. Where we were attacked is the financial Mecca of the world. And so I can't imagine that we would take the time out to cripple ourselves. That just doesn't even sound like a rational conspiracy.
What has been your biggest challenge in the past 10 years, Nicole?
My biggest challenge, I would say I was a totally different individual on September 10th, 2001. My life was drastically altered. I was a rising star in the financial service industry. Again, at that time, I was 30 years old, certified financial planner. I'm a minority, and so I was doing extremely well in my industry. I've yet to recover back to that place, emotionally, financially, with the confidence that I've had. I am a totally different person than I was 10 years ago. And a lot of that is because of this one incident. And I've been attempting to pick up the pieces of my life ever since. Each year, you get a different emotion. Mm-hmm. Each year, depending on how well I'm doing in my life during that time, really determines how depressed I may or may not be, how resentful I may or may not be, how happy or angry I may or may not be. I'd love to be on a consistent road toward pursuing my destiny again.
Tell me, Nicole, do you think the government of the United States is doing enough for the survivors of 9/11?
Well, I certainly believe that the government didn't know exactly what needed to be done. Mm-hmm. And I say that because in the immediate aftermath, the World Trade Center was attacked. That's in New York City. I live in New Jersey. And so there was a lot of information available, and this is the challenge that I've had with a lot of other survivors that I wrote about in my book that's coming up. But there's a lot of survivors that were totally disconnected. If you remember the immediate aftermath, the media coverage of what transpired went on for weeks and weeks. And so if anyone was like me and you turned off the TV just for a piece of sanity, or just to get some rest or some reprieve, then you were disconnected from the world. And so while they had things like the World Trade Center Compensation Fund, while they had opportunities, and support and assistance financially available, getting that information out there was not so easily available to receive. And so if other individuals were like me, not only did I have to deal with the struggle of, really getting myself together emotionally, I then had a financial issue that I had to worry about even after months. I'm a certified financial planner. I believe in the concept of planning. The market went down immediately after that. We tell our clients save 3 to 6 months worth of emergency cash. What happens when after 3 to 6 months of emergency cash is gone and you have no income coming in? How do you survive? This is what I think America had not taken into consideration. But there have been a lot of individuals fighting that fight that says, we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. And so I'm very pleased that the president signed the Zadroga Act into effect. And so I think that more survivors years later now have access, but the information still is not being distributed in the way that it can be distributed to help individuals like me.
Nicole B. Simpson is my special guest this hour, Exonation. Her website is www.NicoleBSimpson.com. And she is one of the survivors of the 9/11 attacks on the Twin Towers in New York City. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Nicole Simpson's website is www.NicoleBSimpson.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Gargantuan explosion. Oh my God, I don't believe it. The northeast corner has exploded in the most incredible explosion. Flames are flying out of the building. They're 5, 10 stories high now. Black billowing smoke. The building corner, the whole entire corner is gone.
Both World Trade Center buildings in New York City right now, heaps of rubble. At 9 o'clock this morning, a plane crashed into one...
Greetings, X-Zone Nation. This is Shelley Care at www.shelleycare.com. I'm calling about the death of Osama bin Laden. Here's my take on this. I'm not impressed. I feel like we could have bombed that little shack. We could have wiped him completely off the map. But instead we chose to take a risky maneuver to get lives on the ground. We risked lives to go in there and put a bullet through this guy's head because the political machine wants to prove to the public that this is exactly the man that they got. And the reality is, this is not going to help terrorism around the globe. This is not going to end it. It's probably just going to give us more of what we don't want. And I know it's human nature to want to put a face and a name to blame for the 9/11 attacks. And so it's human nature to want to say, hey, there he is, we got the bad guy. But the truth is you're not solving any problems by doing that. I think, unfortunately, we're probably just going to get more of what it is that we don't want. And so I'm really just not impressed. So that's my take on it. I'm going to pray for this world, and I hope that we can all just learn to get along with each other and be peaceful. So I'm putting that prayer out to the universe. And meanwhile, I guess it makes some people happy, but like I said, I'm not impressed. You are listening to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell on the Talkstar Radio Network and their worldwide family of broadcast affiliates. Have a blessed day.
Proceed right on and crashed right into the Pentagon.
Then shortly after 10 o'clock this morning, one World Trade Center tower in New York collapsed.
Lots of smoke, and then the next thing I heard an explosion.
My name is Michael Telstar, Canada's leading mentalist from Toronto, Ontario.
Hi, my name is Splenda, and you're listening to my dad, Rob McConnell, on the X-Zone.
This is Psychic Dorothy from St. Catharines, and you're listening to Rob McConnell.
Hello, my name is Holly Reeves, an astrologer from Astro For You, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. My guest this hour is Nicole B. Simpson, and Nicole B. Simpson represents the survivors, the individuals who were in the building on 9/11 and walked away emotionally devastated, scarred for life, and struggling to pick up the pieces to move forward. As an author and motivational speaker, she has spent the last 10 years encouraging others that they can still move forward. She recently completed a book titled 9/11-01, A Long Road Toward Recovery, featuring interviews with other survivors. Now, Nicole worked in Twin Towers as a financial planner. She's also written The Ultimate Plan, a financial survival guide for life's unexpected events. And she's also a very compelling motivational speaker, author, and certified financial planner who is actively involved in spiritual, emotional, and economic empowerment in the penal system, non-for-profit organizations, and the educational systems. Joining me now is Nicole B. Simpson. And Nicole, first of all, thank you very much for joining us today here on the X-Zone. And, you know, my heart went out to everyone who was affected by the attacks on America in going back to September the 11th, 2001, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I know it was something that really affected the entire country, and everyone was devastated.
Nicole, what immediate changes would you like to see happen now as a survivor of 9/11?
Well, the first change that I would love to see is if anybody can think back to the sense of unity that America had in the immediate aftermath. I think we lost a little bit of that, in the years that followed. The climate has been more divisive in the last several years than ever before. But this is a great opportunity for the United States of America to become united again, and where individuals begin to help one another, be supportive of each other, even if we have varying viewpoints or different points of view. We can begin to understand, the opinions and respect the opinions of others. I think that's an internal thing. The other immediate thing that I would love to see our government do is to now begin to draw down the troops and perhaps look inwardly. America is in dire need of jobs and employment, and people really want opportunity at home. And so if America can focus on the needs of America, I think that would be extremely ideal and give us a great opportunity to really get back to the place of true and pure dominance for all individuals.
This past Sunday, as members of the media throughout the United States and Canada and the rest of the world received information that a very important message was going to be brought to the nation by President Obama, I sat and I watched the news feed, and it was as if finally something happened that we could all say, my God, we're able to pull ourselves together. And then people started in Washington, D.C., going to the White House, and the crowd grew and grew and grew. People started going to the site of the Twin Towers, and the crowd grew and grew and grew. And what seemed to have been lost in the days after 9/11 seemed to be reborn.
Yes. I agree wholeheartedly. And at first I was a bit baffled. I watched the thing as well. I was a bit baffled at the gathering of individuals. But as you watched on during the night and you heard some of the conversations and the dialogues of individuals, they wanted to feel a sense of, listen, we've been in this thing together. And I think it represented that perhaps this nightmare is really, truly over. And I know that the death of one individual can't stop the war on terrorism, but when you look at it, he represented the face of it.
That's right.
And it just really showed the strength of America to say, you may have forgotten, but we didn't forget, and we will pursue this until the very end because we care about everybody. That's the sense as the night went on. Early into the morning, that's the sense of peace that I received. It felt different, as if this may be an opportunity, or this is, not even maybe, this is the opportunity for us to look at where we're standing internally and stand united because we set out to do a task, and that task is near completion.
It also showed that even though there was an act of terrorism, Americans pulled together and made the country stronger. I really believe that. The amount of pride, the amount of hard work, dedication, the brave souls in the armed forces and in law enforcement, the first responders. We saw America at its best during its darkest hour.
Absolutely. And I do want to say this about our armed forces. See, they've been in the trenches for the last 10 years, as they always do whenever they're called upon to serve this great country. And oftentimes the political rhetoric and the opinions of even us as Americans can be disheartening for those people that put their lives on the front line. So they faced terrorism every day for the last 10 years, or since we went to war. We could never and we should never forget that. And so our appreciation, even on May 1st, reflected our appreciation for the military. But the thing that I would caution even all of the listeners is, let's not wait for one major event. We ought to appreciate them always, because we live in the land of opportunity, and there is a sense of security that we have because of the individuals that risk their lives for us from day to day, to have these freedoms, to have these liberties.
Plus, they volunteer. They aren't conscripted. They are not drafted. They choose this profession, and they choose to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect what they believe in, what their country stands for. So to them, God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you.
It's the 10-year anniversary of the tragedy of 9/11. In a few months, people are going to be gathering once again at the site of the fallen towers, as well as in the fields of Pennsylvania, and as well as at the Pentagon. What significance does this closure hold in this year in particular?
I began reflecting on that a while ago as I started writing the book 9/11-2001, The Long Road Toward Recovery, because 10 years represents a decade.
Yes.
And so we've been living with this for 10 years. We've seen the same thing over and over again. There are individuals that didn't have answers, and I think that's really what it is. There were no answers for families who had lost a loved one or the first responders. There was some insecurities about how people would pick up the pieces financially in their own lives. But this 10-year period of time, we have accomplished so much. When this 10-year period rolls around on September 11, 2011, Osama bin Laden would have been caught and killed. We would have had some troops that are coming back home, because the commitment that the president had made from day one, which seems more realistic today than it did when he first made the declaration, is that the troops would be pulled out of Afghanistan. So that's a difference. And now that they've refunded or added additional funds to the World Trade Center Compensation Act and expanded the medical assistance for individuals who volunteered their services, who did the cleanup, who was a part of New York City, you now have the Zojoga Act. So this September looks starkly different, perhaps, from 2007, 2005, 2003. This one looks like there's a new day, a new dawn, if I might be able to, even use that. It looks like the end and the beginning. The end of what has transpired, the devastation, the heaviness, but a new beginning, because you can see something different, a new outlook, a new opportunity, a chance to move forward.
I'd like to ask you a question, and if you don't feel that you're comfortable answering it, please just tell me. There's controversy that is happening right now, this very minute, throughout the United States and around the world, because President Obama has decided not to release the photos of Osama bin Laden. As a survivor of 9/11, do you think that the President of the United States should release these photos, or should they remain classified?
Well, I honestly think that the President and his security team knows best. And if they think that we shouldn't receive any copies or be able to see it, there must be a justifiable reason in order for that to have happened. And when I think about the fact that Osama bin Laden was intelligent enough to have "if I die" clauses, I'm certain of it. I know as individuals, we all have our plan Bs in life.
Exactly.
So I'm certain that if he has had something in place, God forbid, if he were to die amongst his own, his own individuals, that would incite, I think, more recruitment, because that's what happened before. Recruitment occurred when Saddam Hussein's pictures were released. And so when we look at it from that perspective, I think that the president is making the decision that he thinks is best. As the same as with him going in the way that he did strategically with minimum loss of life. I can't profess to know how to run the country. If I did, I would run for the president of the United States of America. But I would think that it's not one independent voice, but it is a collective group of individuals who are far more well-versed than we are that ought to be able to make that decision. At the same time, I understand that people need clarity or closure. I would love to see, if at all possible, perhaps his, something that can provide that evidence, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be a picture of him. Now, I don't know what that would be. Again, the president is far more intelligent than I am when it comes to these type of matters. But if they say they verified it through DNA, how do we prove it? Can we, reflect dental records or something like that? That, I think, would be sufficient.
Well, I believe the DNA was acquired when Osama bin Laden was actually in a hospital.
Correct.
And as far as I'm concerned, I'm a Canadian, and I'm also a person who is very proud of my country, and I believe that Canadians do the right thing when we put the people in power that we do, and our cousins to the States the same. And as far as I am concerned, if the President of the United States says that we got him, that's good enough for me.
I agree.
Nicole, please stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. X-Zone Nation, our very special guest this hour is Nicole B. Simpson. Her website, www.nicolebsimpson.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And everybody knows that there are times when I question the government in Canada, the United States, worldwide. But this is one time I do not. I truly believe that the President of the United States is telling the truth. Osama bin Laden is dead. We'll be back. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Nicole B. Simpson is my special guest to this hour. We're talking about 9/11. Nicole was a survivor, is a survivor of 9/11. We talked about that morning. We've talked about how the events of September the 11th, 2001 have changed her life and have changed the life of so many others. First of all, Nicole, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and you and I were talking during the commercial break that we're going to have you back on closer to 9/11, and we're also going to bring on some other survivors of 9/11, and because this is a story, a side of the story that has to get out there.
I agree. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rob. Sorry.
No. You're not interrupting me at all. I just get carried away because it's very emotional. A lot of people that I know that I'm fortunate enough to speak to want to say so much to the people who were there, but they rarely get the opportunity. Now, let's look what's happening tomorrow in New York City. President Obama is going down. He's meeting privately with members of families who were survivors, who are survivors, who were first responders, who passed on, who gave their life. And he invited President Bush to come and join him, and President Bush rejected his invitation. How, as an American, how does this make you feel?
I actually, I wouldn't use the word rejected. I actually believe that the more appropriate word is he declined it.
All right,
and the reason why I say that is because I think it was President Bush, out of respect to this great success that the current president has, that he declined to come. I can only imagine that being the president, there's a lot of weight on one's shoulder. And had this situation gone awry, then President Obama would be taking all of the blame for it. And so I just really kind of thought that it was a gesture of President Bush to say he did what no other president could do. Bill Clinton attempted to do it. Yeah. I attempted to do it. We were not successful. This is his moment. He need not share the spotlight. And I think that the President Bush also, was gracious enough to say, I will stand with him on September 11th, 2010. So it's not a rejection. I'm actually very proud of what President Bush has done in terms of allowing our President Obama to really stand up and really receive the justifiable credit for such a monumental event.
Mind you, there is another way of looking at it, and I just thought of it as you were talking. It would be one heck of a security risk to have the president who was responsible for the great nation at the time of the attack, and the president who brought Osama bin Laden to justice at the same spot at the same time. Wow.
Well, I think that they would manage to do that. I mean, they have that same level of risk whenever you have the inauguration. Remember, he's always there at that time. They're planning the same thing on September 11th of 2011. So I'm sure that they, the security issue would already be elevated because this president, just given that he's a minority and just given the different levels of circumstances, has always had maximum security because there's a significant amount of risk that's attached to wherever he goes.
Nicole,
so I think that we'll get it.
Nicole, I hate to do this, dear, but you and I have run out of time for tonight. I look forward to the next time you join me here on the X Zone. Once again, congratulations on all that you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have had the opportunity of sharing this hour with you. Continued
My pleasure,
success.
Rob. Thank you.
And if there's anything we could ever do to help you and any of the great causes you're involved with, just let us know. You've got our support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, Nicole. Nicole B. Smith has been my guest this hour. www.nicolebsmith.com. I'll be back on the other... Simpson. That's right, NicoleBSimpson.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away now.